So, welcome everybody. I'm Allie Depew, and this is Nick Wethington. I've got Kathleen Bent over here in the background. It's going to come in the blurry. Perfect. And we are Inspired Classroom, and Nick is with Spectrum, and we are so excited to have you as a guest today. And we've got Jeanette coming in, so we'll admit her. There she is. Hi, Jeanette. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good, it's great to have you with us. We were just doing a round of introductions. I have got some awesome folks with us today. We've got Nick from Spectrum, Molly from Travelers Rest, and we have got Amanda from SciTech, which is Arizona. Am I right, Amanda?
Yes, Arizona.
Yes. Wonderful. So we're going to just go ahead and get started. I first want to start with Nick. And Nick, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and the awesome organization that you work with.
So I'm with the Spectrum Discovery Area. We're a hands-on science museum in Missoula, Montana. And I'm the Making and Tinkering Programs Manager is my official title, which is, I made it up.
Which I love, by the way.
And I do a lot of random stuff for Spectrum, and we do a lot of a huge variety of different programs. So, you know, a big part of what I do is a lot of educational aspects, as well as exhibits and IT stuff and teacher professional development and traveling science exhibits around the state, getting kids excited about science. Spectrum itself hosts field trips. We do birthday parties. We have Science on Wheels events around the state, like I mentioned. We are also in the new Missoula Public Library. So that's, I'll start my little, I should show a picture. I should have good pictures of stuff.
It's pretty gorgeous.
Yeah. Go back. There we go. All right. Can you guys all see that?
Yes.
Yes, cool. So yeah, we are in the new Missoula Public Library, which is exciting. So the public library is 4 stories in Missoula. And a few years ago, they invited a number of different partners to be involved in a new building. And so it was Spectrum, and then Families First, which is a parenting organization in Missoula, as well as the Missoula Community Access Television, MCAT. And then there's also a living lab through the University of Montana that is funded through a grant through the city. And so we have this amazing new building where Spectrum is able to be free to the public. So we used to charge admission and we don't anymore. We are free and open to the public, and we provide a lot of programs kind of in tandem with all those other partners in this new amazing community space. It's more like a community center, or like, yeah, that's the best way to describe the library. It's kind of an interesting, you know, there's not many places that have science museum, library, parenting, you know, community access television, and then like a little sprinkling of university research stuff around the country. So if you are in Missoula, it's definitely worth checking it out. It's got a lot of amazing stuff. These are some really cool photos from our grand opening that just happened in July. The one on the left, the wizard, is Gee Whiz. He is a chemistry professor, was a chemistry professor at the University of Montana, and now he's a full-time chemistry wizard. That's like his job. He just like travels around and does amazing chemistry experiments, and is just like this fantastic persona. It's kind of like a Missoula thing. And then I pulled our Monty, who's the mascot for the University of Montana. He came to our grand opening and had a lot of shenanigans. So we are part of the University of Montana. Spectrum is. He always gets in a lot of shenanigans.
He totally gets in a lot of trouble. Okay, so I have a question for Amanda, Jeanette, and Molly. Nick shared that he has a ton of, well, hats, I would say. I'm not sure if any of them are quite as cool as Gee Whiz's hat, no. But you have a ton of hats that you wear. I'm guessing, Molly, Jeanette, and Amanda, is this similar for you with the organizations that you work at? Or do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know what your title or titles are?
Yeah, many hats. It doesn't even sum it up. I'm the executive director over here at the museum. And so, and we've been going through some staffing changes, and then of course, COVID has changed some stuff. And so in the last week, I've pretty much done maintenance, gift shop. I did do guide this week, as well as my position and curator. So if there's a hat to be worn here, yes, I wear it.
I love it.
That sounds very familiar, Jeanette. This is Molly. I am also the executive director. Interestingly, though, I'm the executive director of the Friends Group, so the nonprofit partner of a Montana State Park. We do, however, do a lot of the programming here. So in the last week, I have opened a new exhibit and hosted a historian who camped out in the park and demonstrated Plains Indian horse accoutrement. I know exactly, tack, I guess is the right word. And I am right now boning up on some field trips that I haven't taught in a couple of years so that I can teach them next week, because we have kids coming next week.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, ladies. Wear many hats here at SciTech. However, I am a former educator, taught first, second, and fourth grade. So I'm definitely used to wearing many hats.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So we're all in the same boat. We all feel your pain, Nick. We and love it, right? Because I don't think any of us would be doing this if this wasn't really, we didn't love these hats and the engagement with our communities and trying new programs and sometimes being the person that actually delivers the programs. Oh my goodness. So, okay. So here's my next question for you, Nick. You told us a little bit about your space. What are some of the challenges as a museum? I'm going to say that curation is definitely on your list because I've seen you and worked with you on curation before. Curating these exhibits and with education research, and how are you actively solving them?
I mean, the curation and maintenance part is a big part of what I just like, keeping things from being broken all the time. It's that's the extra little 20% of my time that it's just hard to account for. So that is a challenge. And we're also, in the education world and nonprofit world, you do a lot with a small team. So there's 3 of us that work here full time. So keeping up on educating and facilitating all these programs as well as that component, I think, is a challenge. And I have very high standards in terms of I've been to a lot of science museums prior to working in a science museum. And I think my biggest disappointment visiting them is when you have this exciting looking exhibit and there's a doesn't work sign on it. And you're just like, oh. And so I work very hard to keep our exhibits. If it's not working, it's not on the floor is kind of my philosophy. Which is a challenge. I mean, you had to have a lot of stuff in rotate. It takes a lot of time to rotate things in that for stuff that is broken. So that is one challenge. I think another fun challenge that I really like is signage and the interpretive aspect, right? Because there's the physical exhibits, which are really amazing, but developing all the signage, and we're fortunate to be part of the University of Montana in that if we have a science exhibit that we are developing, I had one that was a rainbow light box, right? And so it was just a lot of light and shadow, and there's some diffraction properties that I didn't really fully understand, but I wanted to interpret for the public. And being connected to university researchers or university professors that are a physicist and studies light, I can reach out to them as a staff member of the university and be like, hey, I have this really specific question about how this phenomena is working that I want to be able to communicate to a 12-year-old. Is this an accurate way to describe what's going on? So I think that's a really fun and interesting challenge about this. I love the educational, again, the interpretive aspects of it are really, really cool and really fun.
Amanda, you in particular, do you struggle or find that you're having to constantly help people translate? I know as a 4th grade teacher, I suspect that is front and center in your mind sometimes.
I'm sorry, Allie, you cut out there just a little bit. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, you bet. So I was just saying that I can imagine that coming from the perspective of a fourth grade teacher, that interpretation piece is so important. And I was wondering if that's something part of what you are up to over at SciTech, is helping other people translate what they're delivering to students.
Absolutely. That is one of our biggest products, or our biggest projects right now, is essentially sharing what are really, in Arizona, we have a big manufacturing businesses here. And so being able to have them do community outreach to students and really show off the awesome things that are happening within those buildings. But coming in as SciTech, we're coming in and showing those people how to do that, how to make it fun for kids to learn, and how to make it look awesome, which it already is. They just need to show it off. So being able to do that definitely here at SciTech is one of our biggest projects right now, and just showcasing what we've got going on.
Yes. Yes. Well, and I suspect Molly and Jeanette, you both have quite a bit of experience with that as well, over at your respective places. But what I want to do now is we have a very cool, very awesome new tool that we want to show you that I don't want to say that we stumbled upon it, Nick, but I guess we asked the right people the right questions. And sometimes it's really lucky when you just ask the right people the right questions. And they say, hey, actually, I have a tool for you that we just invented, and here it is. And it's, get this free, which are, words that we really love to hear even more.
All of those words.
All of those words, right? So Nick, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk a little bit about this really cool resource.
Cool.
Why you love it, how it works, and anything else that you want to share about it.
Wonderful. Can you guys see the slideshow again? Good. All right, cool. There we go. So we have, this is, Allie and I were, again, I don't remember how this all came about. This is years ago that we started talking about it, but we have an exhibit in our museum that is funded and kind of like produced by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. It's called the Raven exhibit. And it is I couldn't get it installed on this computer, which is part of the reason why we're kind of transitioning to a different sort of format for this exhibit. But it's a pretty neat resource in that it shows you kind of spectrograms of different sounds. And it is, they're largely birds, but there's other mammals and humans and foxes and wolves and all that kind of stuff. And it, in a nutshell, it takes a sound and it shows you kind of like the spectrogram of the sound waves, the peaks and kind of valleys of loudness. And then an additional fun benefit of it is that you can kind of record your own sound and speed it up or slow it down. And so that's how this kind of like exhibit installation currently sits on our museum floor. And I have a little bit, there we go. So we, if it's functionally just a computer and then a screen, and it's running the software again that was produced by Cornell Lab of Ornithology. I should go back. There's Eric Green, who's the role model sign kind of next to it. He is a professor at the University of Montana and does a lot of great outreach, especially to teachers around birds. That's kind of his big deal. He does a lot of other stuff too, but he's a big bird guy. And so we incorporated him as kind of like the role model sign for our exhibit. And we do that for most of our different experiences. We have a lot of different role model signs, just kind of highlighting largely researchers. We kind of branched out to a couple of different folks recently. But this exhibit is a mouse, some buttons. They're all arcade. Like if you're designing an exhibit, you had to design it very robust. So I purchased it's all arcade stuff. That stuff is like meant for drunk people to bash on when they're like at a bar or whatever, and so kids have a hard time breaking it. So the elements that you can kind of like interact with it are all arcade based type stuff. The only issue I had with it is we have a sand table too, and all the sand kind of got in there, and cleaning all the sand out of the like little rollerball thing. You may have seen them. I'm trying to think of the arcade games that have them that are really popular. I think maybe Galaga did. I'm not sure. But anyway, they're all arcade components that we designed and put into this box and for the mouse and buttons. And you know, again, it's hooked up to this computer screen, and you can do this fun stuff with the Raven exhibit. We like to keep things fresh on the museum floor, so you know, switching out experiences like this from time to time, I think is helpful in keeping people like actually the people who are pictured in this photo come to the museum like all the time, right? And so that kid gets to, there's value in repetition, but also I think there's value in having something new when you go. And given that this is just a computer running a software program that we, you know, just like run on it all the time, we wanted to do something a little bit more with it. And I actually heard from Eric Green about this thing called Beastbox. And this is also produced by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. And this is all, I'm going to stop sharing and kind of go to, so this is on a browser. And we were really, I saw this and I was like, I need this in the museum. Kids are going to love this. This is amazing. Let's see here. There we go. I got share sound on. So this is, again, in a browser, and we were excited to have it play in the museum on that same computer. And so, can you hear a bunch of Beastbox sounds? Yeah, cool. All right. So I'll turn it off so you don't have to listen to that while I'm talking. This takes a lot of sounds from a bunch of different animals and mixes them with beatboxing. Where's my favorite there? I like this one. And so you just click on this stuff for like a background beat. I like doing that one. It's really loud in my ears. And then you can pull up these different animals, and it takes a little while to kind of match it with the loop, but once that goes, so that's an actual sound from that bird that has been kind of like, you know, just put on a loop. And then there's a bunch of different other ones here. I pick all my favorites here. There we go. My favorite is probably the cicada. And you can kind of like, so I can click that guy and take him out and kind of just mix up all this frog in there. And this guy's actually cool. I love the art on it too, where he's got a really hip hat. I like that one also.
Maybe next time.
So we found this amazing tool, right? We're just like, wow, this is really cool. It's just on a browser. We should put it on this computer. But you know, the downside of having just the internet on a computer in a public space is that people, and especially kids, will find a way to go to other things on the internet that you don't want them to go to. Like in this one, so I can click on this, which is this is really neat, right? That it has this video of him talking about like how he produced this and kind of the history of it. It has these, I can't remember if these work or not. It has these like actual field recording sounds. So all those elements of the Beastbox were like from a real recording that they like modified and looped and stuff. And so, you know, it has some information about like their ecosystems and the field recordings. And it's just like a really rich, kind of really fun tool to talk about animal sounds. But like you get to this window and actually like I can't go back here, right? So it just goes down here and there's no way for me to go back. I have to kind of like reload it and do some weird stuff. So I kind of hacked it a little bit in two different ways, and that I use this not very good app called Kiosk Pro Lite. Like I was trying to like, okay, I want this to be in a kiosk format. I found a not very good app called Kiosk Pro Lite. It's okay. Like it just like goes to this link, and it's, you know, I basically just said like don't go anywhere else but this link, but it still has some issues. Like you can also just X out of the screen, right? And so I just changed the underscan rate on the computer to like be outside of where you can see it on the screen, which is kind of a hack and a cheat, but it works. And so that was kind of where we came to. And then Allie and I were talking about including something else. So I'll just go over to this. So do you want to talk about this? I don't want to like introduce this in a way that's not accurate, Allie. So
I love it. Thank you. So this is a Google Earth content creation piece of tool. And it's very similar if you've ever seen Google Voyagers. If not, Google Earth Voyagers, they're very cool. In fact, Nick, would you go and hit the back button up there within Google? Yeah, that one. And then when you're in Google Earth, there's the wheel on the left, the ship's wheel. If you click on that, this will take you to the Voyagers, and these are curated content and map-based stories. So you can click on any of them that look interesting. They're really fun, and so they have a similar concept where you've got the map, you've got the media box, and then you have the text box right there. So they're really, it's a really cool thing. So a little while ago, and this one, oh, wow, look at this. This is like Glacier. Cool. So we discovered this tool a little while ago, and Google came out with Content Creator, which allows you to build your own version of a voyage. And we use this in our learning experiences. So we have our platform, Mentoric, which is the mentor-driven, scenario-driven platform that helps frame learning experiences for museums, nonprofits, organizations, and really helps get that reach out, especially to geographically isolated communities, or really wherever you want to go. But this is one of the tools that we'll often build into some of those learning experiences because there are just so many incredible components to it. And I can tell you later how to get back to it really easily. And so one of our clients, the MPG Ranch, which is based out of Florence, Montana, and is a biological research station, is doing some incredible work with golden eagle migration, them coupled with another organization, Raptor View Research Institute. And they were really excited about getting that information into the hands of students and teachers, and wanted to do it in a very engaging way. And so we have a couple different learning experiences, one for elementary, one for middle school, and one for high school that really focus around migration, and different components are age appropriate, and they go through some different thinking processes depending on the age group. But we started by building one of these content creators. And so do you want to hit, what we can do maybe is we'll hit the present mode, and maybe we can watch like that first video. So here's like the home page, and then that video, we'll click there. So we've got our content. Yep, go ahead and hit that.
The magnificent raptor, the golden eagle, is found throughout the Northern Hemisphere. Journey with us as we explore the migration route of eagles along the crest of the Rocky Mountains. Starting from their summer ranges in Alaska, soar along the snow-capped mountains, look for stopover points, hunting grounds, and a changing landscape as they make their way to the Bitterroot Valley in western Montana.
Awesome. So we can click out of that guy. Just up at the top there. Yep. Perfect. There's an X right up there. Yep.
There we go.
Yeah. And so you move through these experiences. So there's different cards, and it'll take the students through, and you can see those pinpoints on the map. And you can either click on a pinpoint, or they'll move you through the card and it'll pull you down into it. This one is about exploring a stopover point. There's an accompanying video of what that looks like. You can engage with it. So yeah, you can move it around. You can zoom in, zoom out. If street view is applicable, you can use, grab the little guy and put yourself in street view. So it's a great way for kids to really have some place-based learning, and also map-based learning from wherever they happen to be. So we had this program, and I think I walked into the museum one day, and I was chatting with Nick, and we were looking at Beast Box, we were looking at the Raven exhibit, and I said, I've got some golden eagle stuff that you could use. And with that, we started thinking about, well, what would it take to have something like a content creator be a part of a museum space? And I think one of the biggest issues that we came across was, well, my goodness, how do we keep it like kid proof? How do we keep it so that they're not going to other places? How do we keep it so that if we have a YouTube video, it doesn't just start playing on the next YouTube video, as YouTube sometimes will? And like, these are all issues that we need to solve. And we just happened to meet a really cool guy, and I'm going to hand it back over to Nick to take it away with what he shared with us.
Yeah, so we met with Dusty Reed, who works at Google. And the cool, I know some other people that work at Google. He's like the coolest Google person I have ever met, like hands down. We had a really fun Zoom meeting with him because they developed a tool. As with like, it's so Google's fascinating that way, where they'll develop these like amazing tools that like, I don't think there's any like public. How did you come across this, Allie? You just emailed Google, right? You're just like, hey, I have this idea, and just like, somebody at Google fix this, and they're like, yeah, we got a tool for it.
Pretty much, so we got involved a couple years ago, but we ended up being trusted testers as they were rolling out this content creation tool. We were looking for something like this, and I don't know, a contact of a contact or something said, oh, you should, I think Google's doing something cool. And so we contacted them, and we got on their trusted tester list. Like, funny, wonderful. So we were trusted testers. And so we, as we were building some of these experiences, we were giving feedback to Google, like, this works, this doesn't. It would be really helpful if the tool could do this. So that was a wonderful process to be involved with, as well as just to see their creative process, how things work. And so after Nick and I met, I sent a message to one of the people I'd been connected with over at Google Earth and said, okay, I really need some help figuring this out. And we had a meeting, and they said, you know what, I'm not the person, but Dusty is your person. So we set up a meeting with Dusty.
And he kind of walked us through, like, we were in person together, and we were just like, yes, okay, yeah, that's amazing. It's called Google Earth Wall. It's free. You have to install, so it runs, it's not like a lot of other Google stuff. You have to actually like download it and install it on a computer. So it runs on the machine itself. And then what it really does is it's just like, it's basically like a really powerful kiosk software. And that sounds intimidating in some ways, like other, like a software you download and install, and it's like a kiosk, blah, 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 blah. But the really neat thing about it that we were both impressed by is you basically just put in a bunch of links to a Google spreadsheet, and you provide that Google spreadsheet link to Google Earth Wall, and then it's like set up. Like he was walking us through. So, for example, like with this experience, we can kind of set up the main like home link, right? We can set it up so that this is the home page functionally for that that experience, or there's like a bunch of different tiles, like you saw with the Voyager thing. There can actually be like multiple ones. But just for simplicity, we can set this is like the home page after 30 seconds or whatever. Goes back here. When you click into here and kind of start walking through the experience, it will play all these videos, but it just blocks the rest of YouTube. So we could play this video, it does its thing, and then it goes, you can go back. There was even some buttons that you could embed where it had like a home, because right now there's no real obvious way to like go back home. That's very easy. And I think it had a setting that it would take you back to that main page, which is super helpful because kids are going to just go in here and click, and they're going to get to like right here and then walk away. And that's what the next person is going to see. And so having a home button or a timeout thing, I think is really integral to making it a positive experience that an educator doesn't have to walk over there every 5 minutes and curate. Again, the other advantage of that is you just plug links into a spreadsheet. And so The only tricky thing for us on our end was that we have like Mac everything. And so I had to buy a PC that will, and it doesn't take anything that's super, it doesn't need to be like the most expensive, fanciest computer, which is nice. So it can run on pretty much any workstation, and you just like basically download the software, put in your links. You can kind of tweak some of those elements in terms of timeouts, homepage, all that kind of stuff. And then you're like done. And it seems like a really powerful way for us to be able to leverage a lot of these online elements that I would love to see in the museum more, without having to worry about people going anywhere on the internet and having an educator come over and click like home every 5 seconds on a kiosk. And they were mentioning that they have it set up in a lot of in some museums, right? And then there's some like other corporate areas that they have cool stuff set up on, like, I don't know, it was like he was talking about some gigantic like 100-foot LED screen or some crazy
like
stuff.
I don't
know.
LED screen where you can walk up and you can touch, and that's actually really cool. If you have a touch LED screen in your center, you can walk up and you can touch the experience and move through in that respect too. So there's a lot of possibilities, and I love it because well, first off, for our client, it gets their research out into the world more. And it's another way for teachers to engage, students to engage, and they can then say, hey, this is really interesting. I want to use some more, I want to go deeper. I want to learn more. And we've got a ton of stuff for them that's platform-based to take back to their classroom for their students to do as an independent project if they are, if they're the students themselves. So there's lots of possibilities in that way. So I want to pause for a second and I want to open it up to questions or comments.
Hey, it's Molly. So one of our challenges here is that our internet connection is not the greatest. And I'm assuming with a tool like this, it really has to be reliable because you're playing video and things like that. I mean, on a standalone machine, that's a little bit better because at least it's not, it's not wired to the same thing that I'm using for teaching a field trip that day, right? Nick, do you find that it's a really big bandwidth hog?
I think the bandwidth is functionally what you're playing, right? So like you could set it up to play videos off of YouTube or an experience like this, or, my intent is to set it up for this, but also that Beastbox thing, which is just like, that's light, right? That's just like running on Flash or Adobe or something like that. Okay. That doesn't take a lot of bandwidth. So, and I'm not sure, he didn't point out too much about like local hosting options. I don't know if that is a possibility or not. My understanding of the way that like the content management system is it's, you're putting in links, so you do have to have internet, but as we get deeper into, like, I ordered the computer and everything takes forever now for getting things shipped. So it's in the mail. And I'm hoping to install, like, when he was demonstrating it to us and pointing stuff out, he said having a better graphics card helps a bit with stuff like this because it's running Google Earth, and Google Earth is a little bit resource intensive that way. But I don't think it's super necessary for just like light short YouTube videos and stuff like that. I'd be curious to see, and I mean, that's something where like I can let you know as we kind of get further down the road using it, if that, because it's gonna cache some of that stuff, and that might, it's playing the same video over and over and over and over again. And so once it caches some of that information, I wonder if the bandwidth requirements will be a little bit lower.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Okay.
Because it's not just navigating to a new page every, it's going to the same 5 or 6 or whatever you set up, or 10. And it had, the possibilities with it were just like not anything on the internet, but pretty close to, like, their management side of stuff is largely like Google, like anything basically in Google Earth is going to work. We were pretty much assured. And then like YouTube also, like they have a lot of, Google owns YouTube. If you provide a link otherwise that links to some, I don't even like, there might be areas where like the management on the Google side might not work as well. But he did say, like, if you were having issues with that they're, it's this person's like passion project, 20% Google time thing. So he seemed pretty open to and responsive to like if there were issues or stuff that because they're trying to build this to I think have a bigger of a release and use of it. And I, again, as a museum professional who was looking for like this tool meets a lot of the criteria that I would need to set up something in the museum.
Right.
And a lot of the challenges that we've had.
Cool. Thanks.
Anybody else got questions?
Okay, so all right, I'm gonna be a hog. I have one more.
No worries.
Beast Box. Can you pick your animals, or do you have to use the set that they've got there?
You got to use the set that they got there. Yeah, I know, right? That'd be so
cool. It could be specific to our
Oh man, yeah, having like local, like Montana local specific stuff. I should reach out to. I've always meant to reach out to the guy that produces at Ben Mirren, to see if he would, do something. We talked about maybe having him when we were gonna do some other stuff with the Raven exhibit. We talked about maybe trying to get him like out here because Eric Green was like, he's a really neat person and it would just be really fun to like have out to Montana as like a special guest. So maybe that'll happen, and if it does, I'll be like, we need to record only Montana animals and make a like Beast Box Montana version. And then we need to get Reggie Watts to help out with like he can be one of the like little snippets of sound would be a Reggie Watts sound. That'd be great. He's from Great Falls. Yeah.
I'm in. Let's do it. That sounds fun.
Making it happen.
We'll make it happen. I love it. Jeanette, Amanda, do you guys have any questions for Nick?
I don't at this time. It was an awesome presentation. I loved all of the information and what you're doing out there, and I'm excited to possibly get in connection with you moving forward. So,
thanks.
Yeah.
My parents live in Phoenix, so I'll have to come down to Tempe next time I'm there and check out.
Awesome. Absolutely. Come and join us at our STEM Summit or our Science Center, our festival. We have a lot going on.
Yeah, I don't have any questions at this time, but it seems pretty awesome. I'd love to see how I can incorporate this in some of our stuff here at the museum.
And Allie, do you have the document that they sent us for, I mean, it's a relatively straightforward like setup document. It's like 3 pages long, just like download this thing, put in your links. It was really, it seems like it's pretty quick and easy to get kind of going, which is nice. There's not a huge like time reinstall your operating system sort of like investment in it for setup. So yeah, Allie, if you want to send everybody the setup stuff.
Totally will. In fact, what we'll do is we'll send out a recording of the video. We'll put it together with those resources. So you'll get all of it, and feel free to share it with other museums, other people as well. And again, this is a community to help each other out and find resources that'll work, and meet new people that we can connect with, and sometimes commiserate and oftentimes celebrate with. Oh, well, thank you guys all so much for joining us today. And Nick, thank you so much for sharing Google Earth Wall with us and telling us about all your work at Spectrum. And if any of you have any further questions, you can reach out to me. I'm Allie at inspiredclassroom.com. I'll put that in the chat, and I'd love to help you. So yeah,
put my email in there too.
Yes, I love it. So our next mentor meetup, Kathleen, when is our next mentor meetup?
October 14th.
October 14th, and remind me.
GeoQuest.
Oh, awesome. Yes. We have another amazing organization. The Montana World Affairs Council is going to be talking about some of their education outreach, geography specific with that one, and how they're working to bring Montana to the world and the world to Montana. So join us. It'll be same time, same place, and we'll send out information on that as well. Awesome. Okay, everybody, have a great day. We'll talk to you later.
You as well. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.